Mario Kart has always been a game notorious for its chaotic items. No matter what game you played as a kid, you'll always hear horror stories of how first place was stolen inches from the finish line as a red shell started a chain reaction that sent them to the Shadow Realm. And that got me thinking, which game takes the crown for the most random, most chaotic, unforgiving monster that will yeet you back to last place every time you have a glimmer of hope of touching that sweet goal? Well, I did the math, and I have an answer. In this video, I'll be ranking each game based on a couple of factors. The top 3 most common first place items, the top 3 most common second place items, how common the blue shell is in each game, how common the shock is, comparing each game's item pool, and I'll also be taking into account techniques to avoid frustrating items like blue shells and red shells, since a game that rewards for skill shouldn't rank higher than a game that doesn't. Now, the first game on our list may come as a surprise to veteran players, as it is MK64. Although you can get stars and shocks in second, doesn't mean the NPCs can. Although there is a lone item box on certain maps that guarantees you a blue shell, doesn't mean the NPCs will go for that. And although you have pulled a golden mushroom in first, doesn't mean... Oh, that shouldn't have happened. We're just gonna ignore that. In all seriousness, this is an old game and glitches could happen, but we can't account for that in the data, so I'll just be using this table here. And the table tells us that the items are insanely biased towards the player. You have a fairly high chance of pulling triple or single reds in second place down, while NPCs can't pull red shells at all. You can pull a shock from second down, with every other place getting higher chances, while the NPCs only have a 1% chance of pulling it in last only. You can pull blue shells from fourth down, while the NPCs can't at all, and this game is the only one that has nearly identical top 3 items for first and second. If a player is in first, the top 3 most common items are bananas, mushrooms, and a fake item box, whereas the NPC right behind you has got bananas, green shells, and a fake item box as their most common. Not to mention, the bullet bill doesn't exist in any form whatsoever in this game. Unfair for the NPCs? Yeah, most definitely, but since they're pretty primitive and don't have any chance of being conscious, what's random for them won't matter as long as it's not random for you. Plus, they're pretty damn fast anyways, and you have to be fairly good at the game if you want to win on 150cc, even with your insane item chances.
But what about the online numbers?
Yeah, what about the online numbers?
Oh, we want to see the online numbers. Yes, show us the online numbers. Yeah.
Well, sure, I can show them to you, but it's not gonna matter for the ranking. MK64 only has 4-player online, which isn't fair to compare to games with 2 to 3 times the players. But since you asked, for first we have the banana as our most common, green shells as our second most common, with mushrooms and the fake item box being tied for third. For second, we have triple mushrooms as the first most common, triple and single reds as the second most common items, and triple greens as the third most common. Pretty damn unfair no matter which way you look at it. Although this game still has the lowest overall chance of anyone pulling the blue shell in the series, while the overall chance of anyone pulling the shock is somewhere in the middle. So for the 3 people who play this game online, it would rank in the getting crazy category, but again, unfair to compare to the other games. Now, the next game on our list, the original Super Mario Kart, is where the math begins to torment us, because for whatever reason, Nintendo decided to give every map its own item probabilities.
Thanks, Nintendo.
So we do need to calculate the average chance per item per place ourselves. We do this by adding up all the chances for each item, dividing by the number of numbers we added together, then normalizing the result to get our accurate probabilities. Not the worst mathematically, just very time consuming. Also, normalizing in this context just means to make sure everything equals 100%. We do that by adding all the raw data together and dividing each number by their sum. And now, magically, everything equals 100% and we can accurately compare the data. The reason why this game ranks above MK64 is simple. You can pull a coin from an item set while second pulls a red shell. Now, the chance of this is on the low end, and we have to take this with a grain of salt because I believe these are player-only probabilities, but this is literally the only list that exists for item probabilities in this game. But the reason why I feel comfortable ranking it above MK64 though is because of how crazy CPU items actually are. You just have to play one race to realize that NPCs can just pull items out of their ass, literally. Bowser did not need to hit an item box to use that fireball, but it's not going to rank any higher because every player in every place has the exact same probabilities to pull every item for the entirety of lap 1, and if if you can control Bowser, he is a bit slippery in this game, you can literally eliminate his fireball from being used in races, which is probably the strongest NPC item. Mario and Luigi do have the ability to pull stars randomly, which is extremely annoying, but the speed boost isn't the craziest, so if you're good enough to maintain a lead on 150cc in this game, you can definitely stay ahead while their stars are active. The blue shell and bullet bill wasn't invented yet, so another game you don't have to worry about blue shells or bullet bills, and the overall chance of anyone pulling a shock is the second lowest in the series for the games we have data for. Speaking of games we don't have data for, it seems like the two most unloved games in the series are Mario Kart Super Circuit and Mario Kart Double Dash, because there is literally no data on items for Mario Kart Super Circuit, and Mario Kart Double Dash has this very incomplete list that was made by what seems like a random dude in an afternoon of just playing the game. But based on Super Circuit's heavy inspiration from Super Mario Kart and my experience with the game, I'd say it probably ranks between SMK and MK64. I'm not really sure since I don't have too much experience with it, as I only played it for a bit over an hour, but you can outrun blue shells, so it really can't rank that high. And for Double Dash, based on these items here, I'd say it would probably rank above SMK, because Paratroopa exists, allowing you to pretty much consistently pull triple reds. Also, there is this chain shop item, which is like a slower bullet bill, but since there pretty much is no data, all I can really say is that these 4 games felt the most docile while doing my 13-hour marathon when it comes to items. And trust, I would have had a bad time with Double Dash if the items were crazy, because I was getting motion sickness from how bad the camera is. I don't know what it is with these 3D GameCube and PS2 era games. They always make me so dizzy while playing. It's really a shame. Also, you could dodge blue shells with the well-timed mini turbo in Double Dash, so I can't rank it any higher. And speaking of dodging blue shells with the well-timed mini turbo, this brings us to the next game on our list, Mario Kart DS. From this game onwards, we will be using the online stat list since it doesn't affect the rankings whatsoever, and they all have active communities today, so I think it would be pretty cool to talk about the numbers you should expect when playing these games online. By the way, this item list might look a bit weird since you have a 100% chance of pulling a banana here, but it's just because for whatever reason, every row adds up to 200%, so just divide each number by 200 and you have your normalized probabilities. Trust, I wanted to rank this game higher because it literally has 0 blue shell cooldown, but that doesn't really matter if you know how to dodge blue shells with your mini turbos. Sure, maybe you'll find yourself in a sticky spot from time to time and aren't able to properly execute this technique, but for the most part, it seems like it's fairly consistent. The rest of the items on the list are pretty typical Mario Kart items, with the Boo probably being the craziest thing. Although this is the first game, you can pull a bullet bill, obviously not the most skill-based item. You also have a flat-out 15% chance of pulling a fake item box, which can't block red shells, and it is worth noting that this game does have the highest chance of pulling the shock in the series. But being able to dodge blue shells with 0 items plus the pretty average item pool just takes a lot of the wind out of its sails when it comes to the randomness ranking. Now, the next game on our list breaks us into our top 3 and is our first actual getting crazy category game, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And with this game comes way more math, because MK8 Deluxe has this insane item system that has an insane variation from second place down, since these items are distance based. The farther you are from first, the more drastically your item probabilities will change. Plus, there are double item boxes. But the one thing I don't understand is if this game really has distance-based items, won't you be a certain number of seconds behind if you're a certain number of distance units away from first? Why do we still have item probabilities for 0 to 840 distance units if we are 30 seconds behind first? I'm pretty sure this row represents being 1 to 2 seconds behind first. This does not make any sense. Whatever. For this, I'm just going to do the regular, add everything together, take an average, do it for each tab, and then add the final result of each tab together to then take another average, and of course we normalize the results at the end of all this mess. Anyways, here's our list. Our top 5 most common items, trust you want to see the top 5 for this game, according to the averages of the entire list, would be red shells, no surprise there, triple mushrooms, really? That's a bit weird. Golden mushroom? What is going on here? Star? There is no way this is accurate. And of course, triple reds sneak their way in there. There is no way in hell this is an accurate list. First is almost never that far ahead based on my experience with the game. So I think we're gonna have to truncate things a bit. Now, let's shrink the distance to just before where you have the first chance of pulling a star. Now, our new top 5 would be red shell. Our percentage is almost doubled, by the way. Mushroom. I seriously do not think mushroom is that common in second, but whatever. Green shell. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Banana and triple mushroom. Oh my god, there they are again, bro. There is no way these are accurate, right? I don't think I have ever pulled triple mushrooms in second, but sure, yeah, 4.7%, I get it. But just because this bothers me, let's take it one step further and just assume that the average race online takes place between 0 and 840 distance units. And let me just tell you now, we have very little data on what a distance unit actually represents, except for Rosalina herself saying that 500 distance units is roughly 1 second, and a second of time depends on your combo. But if we're also using Yoshi Teddy as a reference, then this should be accurate, which probably is accurate for this game, right? So if we calculate the average now based on these distance units, we get our final top 5. 36.98% for a red shell, 15.45% for a coin, 14.78% for a banana, 11.84% for a mushroom, and 10.91% for a green shell. Still strange how mushrooms are more common than a green shell. In my experience, I wouldn't say that's the case, but whatever, it is what it is. Now this 69.83% chance you see for a coin versus a 36.98% chance of a red shell seems unfair, but this is only talking about single item box pulls here. Well, sure, not every item set has a double item box. They do appear pretty frequently, and the item probabilities do change when you get a double. By the way, these calculations are done by just multiplying the outcome of pulling each item by the other item you pull in the set, and then normalizing the probabilities at the end of calculating every item combination in the item pool. Now, since we're saying that first and second are not too far away from each other, let's just imagine a scenario where second is only able to grab a single item box, while first has priority for a double. Now you are guaranteed a protection item, and as long as second is right behind you when throwing the red shell, you will block the incoming shell. But now let's say second place is smart and goes for a double on the edge. This flips some things, because although this probability of red plus red from a double seems low, it is the most likely outcome from a second place box, and you can see how low of a chance first has to pull double bananas. There are more item combinations for second than first, that's why the numbers work out this way. And we haven't even begun to talk about wall dodging. This can be done on certain sections of the track with smaller hitbox carts, or bikes in this case like Mr. Scooty, where you can dodge as many red shells as you can manage with one item or even none. But even though this does take some skill to do, you have to factor in the map that you're playing on and what section of the map you are currently on. You won't always have a wall to dodge, or you might even be on the wrong angle to do this. It's like dodging a blue shell. Even though there is some timing involved, you aren't always gonna have a mushroom to do it, so there is a bit of luck involved. That's the thing with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and why it isn't ranked any higher or lower. It's insanely hard to predict, as a lot of factors go into what items you will pull and how you can protect yourself from other players. Even the middle pack is insanely unpredictable. Overall, single and triple mushrooms are most common, but you'll also see things like the piranha plant, which can do work on a tight pack. Stars are also crazy common, as we learned earlier. The blue shell won't just hit first, as it also has a chance to hit every player on its way up there. Not to mention, this game has the second highest chance of pulling it in the series, although there is a 30-second cooldown. The boomerang can be extremely annoying in the right hands, and that super horn can be used to just obliterate anyone who isn't lucky enough to pull one. But the shock does have the third lowest chance of at least one player pulling it in the series, so again, kind of give or take with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now, the number 2 game on our list takes a bit of a different approach to its item luck, as Mario Kart 7 seems to really favor the top positions. If you look past the boring banana and green shell in the top spots and look at the third most common items, you will notice you can pull triple bananas and a tanuki in first. For those unfamiliar with this game, a tanuki allows you to gain a tail, which you can use to destroy items or smack anyone close to you. This includes items on the road or rotating around other players. If you can get this in first and use it at the right time, you can be pretty much unstoppable. But second place also has their own way to stay competitive, as they can pull mushrooms as consistently as bananas, allowing them to take shroom shortcuts that first is unable to somewhat frequently. And if we glance down the list a bit further, you can also see that second place has a similar chance to first of pulling the fire flower compared to first chance of a tanuki. This item is typically reserved for the middle pack in MK8 Deluxe, unless first is really far ahead. The fire flower pretty much gives you 10 slightly weaker green shells. Not hard to imagine how that would be broken in second. Not to mention, this game has virtually 0 invincibility frames. The blue shell and shock chances are slightly higher than in MK8 Deluxe, and although the triple red shell and especially the bullet bill chances are significantly higher in MK8 Deluxe, it doesn't really matter, since the blue shell and shock are more powerful items anyway, and the item pool is crazy unbalanced, so that allows me to comfortably rank it in our number 2 spot. Now, I'm gonna do an honorable mention for MK8 here, because this item list really just confuses me. I have never played MK8, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't have custom items. I think that was was added in the booster course for MK8 Deluxe, and there are no online item probabilities for this game, so it's making me think this might be an outdated list for MK8 Deluxe. I'm not sure, to be honest, so that's why I won't cover it, but I assume it wouldn't be much different from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's single item set probabilities, so if I did have the data for it, I would probably rank the game here, because again, that 69% chance of a coin versus a 36.98% chance of a red shell is pretty damn unfair. Also, Mario Kart World will be on this honorable mentions list since the game isn't out yet, so I literally have no data or experience with it yet. But if this video gets enough views after the game comes out, let me know in the comments and I'll make a short updating the list. And now that leaves us with the final, most craziest, luck-filled fest of a Mario Kart game. You already know what it is. It's Mario Kart Wii. Although this game has the 4th highest chance of anyone pulling the blue shell in the series, there is 0 blue shell cooldown. Mario Kart 7 and 8 Deluxe both have 30 seconds before anyone can pull it again, so their higher chances isn't felt as much as it is in this game. Also, the shock chance is the 2nd highest in the series, although not that far behind MKDS, so these two stats alone already start to make MK7 and 8 Deluxe sweat. The chance of at least one player pulling triple reds is almost 1.5 times higher than an MK8 Deluxe, and although the top 3 looks pretty average, you still have a small chance to pull triple bananas in first. But what makes this game the absolute craziest is the item pool and how the items affect you. No other game has this storm cloud and is by far the most insane item ever created. The basic shock alone is the most powerful item in the game since it makes every player lose all their speed and temporarily slow down for a decent chunk of time. And this item just lays that all on one player, leaving them vulnerable to getting squished by their regular sized opponent, pretty much a direct ticket to the back of the pack. The POW block, although easy to avoid, it removes your trail items and sends you forward with no way to control yourself until you touch the ground again, which in the right spots can send you off the map or into a wall, leaving you vulnerable to the rest of the pack. And this Mega Mushroom is seriously a scarier invincibility star. Stars will knock you over and make you lose all your speed, but getting squished by a Mega Mushroom is nearly an equivalent to being shocked, since while you're flat as a pancake, you are significantly slower. Not to mention that music. One of the most anxiety-inducing songs in Nintendo history, next to that Guardian from Breath of the Wild. And the cherry on top of it all is that blue shells and bombs remove all your items, trailing or not, when you get hit, while also having 0 invincibility frames, making getting comboed much easier versus MK8 Deluxe. Dodging blue shells and red shells are much easier in this game, as the wall dodge doesn't take as much skill as an MK8 Deluxe, and you won't get hit by blue shells while being launched out of a cannon. But not every map has a cannon, and again, you won't always have a wall or an obstacle to dodge the red shell with, so I really can't give any skill points here. This game is like the perfect storm of all the craziest aspects of all the other games, on top of having some of the most broken items in the franchise, making it easily take our #1 spot. And you want to know what the craziest thing is? This game has the 2nd most popular competitive Mario Kart scene pre-Mario Kart World. So even the most luck-based Mario Kart can't be that unfair, right? Let me know what you think in the comments. And with that, thank you so much for watching my video. Getting to the end is really what matters most to me, because I'll likely see you again, and it tells the algorithm to show it to more people like you. You're a legend. I'm out.
Hey, what about Mario Kart Tour?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that game. Let me take a look. Strength 1, 2, and 3? You can have anywhere from 1 to 3 item slots? Oh, hell no.